All right. Hey, sorry I was not at class again. To have to do this via video. Hopefully that should be the last one, I believe, judging by our schedule. I was able to go watch Travis, my son, play a little baseball there, so that was very beneficial for me, which I enjoyed. So anyway, the video today, or my subject for today, is Pope Nicholas, Saint Nicholas, or also known as Nicholas the Great. Born in 800, he died November 13th, 867. They still have a feast day for him in the Catholic Church, which is November 13th, the date of his death. He was Pope from 858 until 867, and was considered a master theorist of papal power, and considered to be one of the most forceful of the early pontiffs. So we're going to just look at two kind of things that went on in his life that kind of defined his reign as Pope. Like most of these guys, he was highly educated in his early years. Which I guess allows for, at that time, being educated enough to read and actually decipher the scriptures and what have you. So we're going to look at something he did in politics, which was with the Patriarch Photius of Constantinople. So when Nicholas comes into power, the guy in charge in Constantinople is Ignatius. That's what it was. So the guy in charge in Constantinople, his name is Ignatius. Okay. The problem is over there, the emperor, Michael, the Byzantine emperor, his name was Michael. He wasn't big on Ignatius. So he deposes Ignatius, kicks him out, and then he puts in his own guy, Photius. Okay. So Ignatius reaches out to the Pope Nicholas, and tells him what happened. So the Pope sends two of his bishops, two authorities, and they go and they meet, and they go to this what's called a synod, which basically looks like a fancy word for a meeting. So in 863, they go there to discuss the situation. The problem is the representatives Nicholas sent didn't get it switched back to the way he thought it should be. They agreed with the emperor, Michael, and they left Photius in charge of the Byzantine church. So when Nicholas finds out that happened, he excommunicates everybody. The emperor, the leader of the Byzantine church, Photius, the two guys he sent over there to kind of look at it for him, he kicks them all out of the church instantly. So even though the emperor got upset by this and said that he was going to invade, Nicholas would not relent, held to his firmness on that issue. And what it ended up doing is causing the church to split. And it was called, I believe, the Byzantine Schism is what the word was. So once this split happens, the church is divided and there's problems. Now, right at the very end of his reign, the whole thing gets flipped over. He dies November 13th. And Michael the drunkard, who is the emperor, he actually gets murdered at the end of September that year. So about 6 weeks before St. Nicholas dies, the emperor of the Byzantine Empire there, he gets murdered. The new guy who murdered him comes in, he kicks Photius out, puts Ignatius back in, and then the church is able to come back together. But it's unknown, or at least in the research material I looked at, it's unknown if Pope Nicholas knew that before he died in November of 867. So that's one of the major kind of issues that he faced as he was during his reign. Okay, and now another major issue he had was when he defended the marriage of King Lothar II and Thutberga. So his wife's name was Thutberga. So the marriage had been an arranged one, and the king wasn't happy. So he rejected the wife, Thutberga, and he wanted to take this mistress for a wife. Her name was Waldrada. Okay, so seeking to divorce the king or queen, Lothar turned to the bishops of the Holy Roman Empire, and after a trial where Thutberga was made to say false things that she had incestual relations before she was married to the king, the bishops voted in favor of the king and decreed the divorce legal. But Thutberga, the divorcee woman, sent a letter to Nicholas and said that this was illegitimate. So Nicholas sends a couple of legates to another synod in Metz in 863, and the two guys he sends over there to argue the case end up being bribed, and they accept the king's position, which infuriated Nicholas. So the Pope called the archbishops who had run the Synod of Rome, where he deposed them and suspended their faculties as priests. So he starts going through anybody connected in here and basically suspending them, or even excommunication was threatened. So anyway, long story short, the Pope actually says, no, the new marriage is not legitimate. You're going to get excommunicated if this goes on. The king actually says that he is going to invade once again. And what the Pope actually says is, the Holy Say does not change its mind. Let these men carry their shame. So Lothar, the king, took back the wife, and the invaders, which he was threatening to attack with, all went home. So, and that was basically the end of that story. So we see a couple of examples in this guy's life, where he's doctrinally sound, it would appear, and has the will to stand in his decisions. But as I was reading, the source material, I came across a quote from Nicholas, and this is the quote: "The Pope shall judge everyone and be judged by none." So the Pope will judge everyone and be judged by none. I hope the problem with that statement is self-evident. The source material that I got that from was called the Catholic Exchange, in which it just starts out with the Titanic papacy of Pope John Paul II saw a renewed discussion for a few great popes in history, and then it goes on to talk about Nicholas. So in reading from that source material, it's very evident the belief of the elevation of man and the greatness of men, basically, is what that sort of thing kind of produces. So we see a couple things there, like I said, where he did seem to hold the line in a couple of proper forms, but we also saw in his reign the consolidation of power to the Pope, or the papacy, and the strengthening of basically the withholding of the information from the masses and keeping it locked up. Only those who have the authority can give out that information. So there you go, a video about Saint Nicholas I. I do hope to be in class next week, so thank you very much, and God bless. See you.